Point your phone at a messy workbench and ask, which bit fits this screw? The answer appears exactly where you're looking. Glance at a spice rack mid-recipe and say, what can replace cumin from what you see? You get a confident in-scene suggestion. In this breakdown, you'll see how a few-second on-device render can turn 100x balcony shots from blur to readable text, and why content credentials make that power trustworthy. By the end, you'll also know why Gemini Live visual guidance is the missing link between talking assistants and doing assistants, and how an AI native camera changes what zoom even means. 1. When phones stop guessing, the day shared perception arrived. For years, smartphone intelligence lived in two lanes. Assistants could set reminders, surface directions, and answer questions, but they had to imagine your world from words alone. Cameras, meanwhile, used computational photography to lift image quality after the shutter. Multi-frame fusion, denoise, sharpening. But collapsed at extreme zoom. When you needed help during the moment, choosing the right tool, matching a color, or reading tiny text from far away, the system felt distant and reactive. The missing link was shared perception. We needed a way for the assistant to see the same scene you see, so it could answer about the exact objects in front of you. Gemini Live introduces that link. With the camera active, you speak naturally. Which of these is T10? Which cable supports EARC? Which spice matches this flavor? And the assistant responds in the same visual space, focusing your attention on the item that best fits the request. Language sets intent, vision anchors context, and the response arrives as guidance you can follow immediately. Pixel 10 supplies the platform to make this feel immediate. On-device AI trims latency and keeps more context on your phone. The camera pipeline evolves too. Beyond conventional upscaling, a generative reconstruction stage, akin to modern diffusion methods, infers plausible structure from limited signal, often producing cleaner edges and legible text at long reach. Instead of watercolor mush, you get a usable frame. It is one of the first mainstream phones where long zoom reconstruction lives in the camera pipeline rather than as a later filter, and that design choice shows up in hard scenes like signage, field labels, and fine textures viewed from the back row. Guardrails matter as these capabilities arrive. Google's approach includes content credentials, portable provenance attached when AI assistance contributes, and a design intended to avoid resynthesizing people. The first supports trust across editors and platforms. The second focuses the tech where it delivers most value, signs products, documents, and scenes where preserving detail matters more than altering faces. Net effect: fewer do-overs, clearer guidance, and more keepers from places phones traditionally struggled. This is the day phones stop guessing and start sharing your context. 2. Under the hood, the camera that understands your intent. The centerpiece is the simple, disarming idea of "see what I see." You open the camera and talk as you would to a friend, and the assistant looks with you. It parses the live view, groups likely objects, and highlights the one that best matches your request. Ask, which port is HDMI 2.1? While the back panel is visible and guidance appears in the exact space where your hand will move. Ask, which of these bits is T10? And your eye goes straight to the right tool. Because vision and language are fused, the model has far less room to misinterpret what you meant. Under the hood, the camera itself changes. Traditional digital zoom crops early, then tries to recover detail via sharpening and denoise passes. That holds edges only up to a point before letters fray and textures dissolve. Pixel 10 adds a generative reconstruction step trained to infer plausible structure when the signal is weak. It doesn't invent fantasy. It preserves small text, thin lines, and repeating patterns so they remain readable at distance, especially in the 30 to 100x range where legacy zooms collapsed. In many scenes, the enhanced frame arrives in a few seconds. Speed and privacy shape the experience. Long zoom reconstruction runs largely on-device for responsiveness and privacy, usually finishing in a few seconds. By contrast, Gemini Live's richest visual guidance generally relies on connectivity. Keeping that distinction clear sets expectations and builds trust. Either way, you get answers in the scene you're already looking at with fewer misfires than voice-only prompts. Integration is where recognition becomes action. Once an item is identified, you can save a labeled snapshot to notes, add a replacement to a shopping list, Set a reminder or open maps to a nearby store. For repairs, you might capture a short sequence, correct bit, fastener location, torque spec, and store it in a project folder. For studying, you might highlight a formula, ask for a one-paragraph explanation, and pin both for review. Quick viewer pulse check. Are you Team AI Zoom or Pure Optics? Drop it in the comments and tell me why. 3. Show, ask, do everyday moments where AI quietly saves the day. Start with the kitchen, where small frictions derail momentum. You realize mid-recipe that you're out of cumin. Instead of leaving the stove to search and then guessing from memory, you point the phone at the spice rack and ask for the best substitute present in the scene. The assistant proposes coriander, and you keep cooking without breaking flow. Repairs are where tiny mistakes balloon into wasted afternoons. Flat pack furniture and bike maintenance punish guesswork. Keep the fastener in frame and ask which bit fits. You pick the correct tool first time and avoid stripping the head. Show the back of the TV and ask which port handles EARC or 4K 120. You plug in. Our recurring 3 stress tests rubric, stadium text, cable ports, whiteboard legibility, keeps this honest and repeatable. Students and researchers gain a tutor who shares the whiteboard. Ask which expression represents cross-entropy. See it identified, capture a readable frame from the back row. Then request a concise one-paragraph explanation and save both to notes. In large venues, lecture halls, arenas, exhibits, the AI native camera often returns usable detail at 30 to 100x, where older pipelines collapsed, usually after a few seconds of processing. Shopping and style decisions become faster. Place 2 sneakers beside a jacket and ask which pair better matches the tone you describe. Because the assistant sees colors under the same lighting you do, the suggestion feels grounded. If you want to decide later, snap a labeled comparison and add a short note. Travel, concerts, and sports reveal the new Zoom's quiet value. From the upper deck, names on jerseys, numbers on signage, and details on a stage set usually collapse. Now the phone returns frames you can read and share. It isn't a substitute for a giant lens, but it pushes borderline shots into the keep pile. Mid-roll vote. Which test do you want filmed next? Toolbox or Stadium? I'll pin the winner and publish results inside 48 hours. Accessibility benefits too. For many people, the blend of verbal description with visual highlighting is not a convenience, it's independence. The system can describe a layout, guide attention to the right object, and confirm a next step in a single flow. That mix reduces errors and builds confidence. 4. What the pros notice. Trust, speed, and a new visual grammar. Shared perception is the hinge that swings assistance from talk to action. Imaging specialists frame Pixel 10 as a move from purely computational to generative-assisted photography. A learned prior fills plausible structure when signal is thin, and the phone discloses that help through content credentials, the basis for trust when files travel from camera to editor to platform. Productivity analysts point to compounding returns. A correct bit on the first try prevents stripped screws and repeat trips. A readable sign from the balcony means 1 capture, not 5. A labeled note tied to a reminder lets you resume without reconstructing context. Individually, these wins are small. Together, they compress projects and reduce mental drag. Privacy advocates welcome the emphasis on on-device AI while pressing for clarity. Long zoom reconstruction running locally reduces exposure. The richest Gemini live guidance generally relies on connectivity. Users should see and control that distinction through clear settings and one-tap pauses. A capable system is good. A capable system that remains legible to the person holding it is better. Platform strategists see both opportunity and responsibility. With credentials embedded at capture, services can disclose assistance without guesswork, detect manipulation more reliably, and protect creators' reputations. They can also surface provenance gently rather than shouting warnings. Differentiation line for creators. This isn't post-edit glam. It's in-pipeline reconstruction with credentials, so your audience knows how the image was made and why it's believable. Balance demands limits. Extremely low light, heavy glare, severe motion, or complex reflections can still trip any pipeline. Long-reach detail may soften or misread. Showing misses alongside wins earns more trust than perfection claims and teaches when to retry, change angle, or step closer. Include a short failures and limits segment, described plainly in VO, to set expectations and strengthen credibility. Part 5, The Next Leap, Video Coaching, Chainable Actions, and a World that Points Back. The next phase arrives in video, where perception and guidance unfold continuously. Expect temporal super resolution that respects motion rather than smearing it, and stabilization that anticipates subject movement. Once the assistant parses your live view and can highlight targets, it can nudge composition before you press record. Tilt, hold, capture now. It's a small step from pointing out the correct port to quietly coaching the exact shot. Task-level autonomy will deepen in practical ways. If the assistant can identify the correct driver bit, it can pull the relevant instructions, set a reminder to recheck after a week, and save a labeled photo to the right folder. If it confirms the cable you need, it can add it to a list and suggest a nearby store. None of these actions replace judgment. They remove glue work so you can focus on the task that actually matters. Over time, expect smoother handoffs across notes, tasks, and maps, so the step from recognition to completion feels almost invisible. The guidance layer will spread to new surfaces. AR glasses, dashboards, kitchen displays, and service robots all combine cameras with questions. A consistent see what I see approach cuts friction wherever it appears. When you expect a system to understand the scene you're looking at, voice-only experiences feel like a step backward. Standards will harden around provenance. If phones attach credentials at capture, editors and platforms will be expected to preserve them. Tool chains that strip labels will look dated. Those that surface them elegantly will earn trust. As the habit spreads, audiences will expect assisted content to carry disclosures the way nutrition facts label food. That cultural shift is healthy. It lets powerful tools flourish without confusing people about what they're seeing. A new creative grammar will emerge alongside the tech. Teachers will narrate while the assistant calls out the correct diagram. Repair channels will guide viewers' eyes to the precise fastener before a tool turns. Travel storytellers will capture details once out of reach. Even casual vloggers will weave visible guidance into the story because it compresses explanation and grows engagement. Behind the scenes, creators will experiment with chained actions, capture a shot, save a note, start a timer, until the workflow feels as natural as breathing. Your phone no longer just records reality, it participates in it. Gemini Live shows you what matters as you look at it, and an AI-native camera rescues shots that used to collapse, while content credentials tell the truth about how images were made. If you've ever missed a moment, misread a label, or wasted time describing a scene to a bot that couldn't see it, this is your upgrade. Subscribe if you want the hands-on stress tests as soon as they drop. Then vote? Toolbox or Stadium? I'll pin the winner and publish the stress test results inside 48 hours so you can judge the gaps and the gains for yourself.